Okay. All right, Teresa and I were just talking, and I'm going to show this on our December 15th meeting, but she's going to be off getting married. The nerve. I was asking her before, because can you talk about where you worked before and like what your program was?
Sure. So prior to working at CWI, I was working for the University of Idaho as a TRIO advisor. So we were called Student Support Services. So I specifically worked with students that were first generation, limited income students, or students with disabilities, which, really aligns with the populations we serve now. And so part of our goal was to help students, retain them in college, and helping them make sure that they were successful in their academics. So one of the things that we would do was check with them frequently. Initially, their first semester, they were required to meet with us 5 times. Obviously that's probably not realistic for our students because we do have such a big caseload. But one of the ideas that really worked for us was to make sure that we scheduled our next appointment with students prior to them leaving our office. And I think, I know it might sound like we might have a lot of no-shows, but the reality is that students really want to have someone check in with them and make sure that they're doing okay. So I feel like that could be a strategy we might use to make sure that we start working on that retention piece. So really making that connection with students so that they know that they are valued. There's someone that cares for them and wants to see them be successful.
And you were saying that you felt like you kind of mentioned that like there was less no-shows because they do like to have that phone call or whatever that is, like, or how would you, what would you guys talk about?
I'm like, I know that, in that position, our meetings were once a month. And, you would think that you'd have a no-show because it's like, so far in advance, but the reality is they get an email reminder. And I would say that I rarely had any no-shows because the more you start developing that relationship, the less that they want to like disappoint you. So they want to show up to those meetings and tell you about everything that's going on in their life, whether it be good or bad. And so that's how you start forming those relationships with students and helping them navigate their college experience and helping them with their success. So I think
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So when you first, so there was like no, like right now, I don't feel like we have just meetings that are just like, there's always a purpose. Like I'm coming to talk to you about planning. I'm talking to you about withdrawing. I'm talking to you about SAPs, but it sounds like this was just more of a check-in meeting.
Correct. I mean, we would do some of the academic piece, like, hey, what are your intentions for next semester? But mostly it was just to check in to see how they were doing. Okay. Are their classes going well? But what else is going on in their life that might be affecting them? Maybe they're having like issues with their job, or they're struggling with like their basic needs. And so that allowed us to get to know them a little bit more, and then maybe connect them to other resources that were affecting their ability to like be successful in college.
Okay. Did you have,
some of those things might have even been like,
oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say those things might have even been like connecting them directly with another resource. So, one thing might be like the finances. One time we had a student that, just needed a little bit more funds to like pay for something that had to do with like an unexpected expense. So like actually, they would have never told us that. And that was really like a burden on them and affecting their academics. So connecting them directly to a financial aid officer and having them work through that situation so that that little problem could be resolved, and it meant the world to that student.
That's awesome. Did you have, when you did these monthly check-ins, did you have like a guideline of like these are the things that you should be checking in with that first month, second month, etc., or not really?
No, we actually had no guide. I mean, obviously, we had some ideas, when they have like, midterm grades. So that might be something that you bring up during your meeting is like, hey, how are you doing with your midterm grades? Or in that situation, we did have access to, those students that had a D or an F by midterm. And then we could say, hey, I noticed that you were, you're struggling in these two classes. What's going on? What can I help you with? Have you considered tutoring? Or, we make adjustments based on what's going on.
Okay, perfect, perfect. Okay, well, thank you for allowing me to record this and show this to the team, even though you were reluctant at first, but you
I
have
know.
really good ideas coming from another institution that, quite frankly, hasn't even crossed my mind. And I think it means more coming from a peer than Erica just blah, blah, blah. So if you have any more ideas,
Awesome.
I'll take another video
Well,
from
I'm
you.
glad to share. I wish I would have like brushed my hair. So
Eh,
sorry, Evan.
all good. Okay, I'm gonna hit stop. Okay. Are you sure you want to stop recording?